little crazy guy. He dressed up as a Santa Claus.
I would never picture in my right mind he would ever do something to a family.
Please come immediately. Who's in your house? Immediately.
In 2008, one Southern California family had the Christmas from hell. A messy divorce led to mass murder, and the culprit was Santa Claus. On December 24th, in the middle of Christmas Eve celebrations, a man dressed in a Santa suit busted into the home of his former in-laws and massacred 9 people before taking his own life. Bruce and Sylvia Pardo tied the knot at the beginning of 2006. The couple lived together in a suburb just north of Los Angeles. Bruce made a good living as an electrical engineer. They had a dog. Suffice it to say, things seemed to be going pretty well for the newlyweds. This wouldn't last. By the end of 2007, the relationship was on the rocks, and Sylvia wanted out. Sylvia filed for divorce in early 2008 and claimed that their once cushy lifestyle had done a full 180. She accused Bruce of draining their savings account, leaving them with only $17,000 to their name. According to the Denver Post, Sylvia had written in court papers, quote, "The situation has become untenable, and continuing the marriage was not an option." You know, it's an unfortunate situation, but honestly not wildly uncommon. Financial issues are one of the leading causes of divorce in the US. But as the Pardos split up, things just got worse and worse for Bruce. He lost his job, he couldn't find a new one, and he was in dire financial straits. By the time the divorce was settled in court in mid-December of 2008, Bruce was 45 years old, he was unemployed, and he was angry. He blamed his estranged ex for his situation, so he carefully plotted his revenge. Sylvia's family lived in Covina, California, and each year they all gathered together with their nearest and dearest for an annual Christmas Eve party. A family friend told KCBS, quote, "Christmases were that special time of the year. It meant so much to them. Every year, a neighbor would dress up as jolly old Saint Nick and pop into the holiday party, much to the delight of the guests, especially the children. In '08, that neighbor had unfortunately moved away, so the partygoers that year would be short one Santa Claus. But at 11:30 p.m., Santa somehow showed up, surprising everyone in the house. There were about 25 people at the party that night. An 8-year-old little girl answered the door, thrilled to find Santa Claus standing in front of her holding a present. Only it wasn't a present at all. It was a homemade incendiary device. And it wasn't Santa. Bruce Pardo was inside that Santa suit, and he didn't have a sack full of gifts, he had weapons. Bruce pulled out a gun, and before fully entering the home, he shot that little girl point blank in the face. Now, after callously shooting the child, Bruce stepped inside and wildly opened fire on the rest of the party guests. It was pure chaos. People were diving out of the way, hiding behind furniture, and desperately trying to escape. One woman even jumped out of a second-story window in an attempt to flee the scene. She miraculously survived. People were running down the street, screaming in terror to escape the hail of bullets. And that is when Pardo unwrapped his present, a pressurized contraption of his own design that, according to law enforcement, sprayed a stream of accelerant, which he lit up to burn down the house. The chief of police called the scene indescribable. Several bodies were found in the ashes the next day after the blaze was finally extinguished. 9 people died that night, including Sylvia Pardo, her parents, her brother, and several others were injured. That 8-year-old little girl was Sylvia's niece. When she first answered the door, she was one of the survivors. But Bruce Pardo was nowhere to be found. According to witnesses at the scene, he had shrugged off what was left of his Santa suit while 40-foot flames blazed, torching the bodies inside of that house, and he made a run for it. His plan had been to flee the country, and it was meticulous. Pardo had planted multiple rental cars in the area, which were all stocked with whatever he might need on the run. He also strapped his remaining $17,000 to his body to kickstart his new life. But the plan went totally off the rails when he tried to incinerate his former in-laws. According to the LA Times, that incendiary device didn't work as planned. Police believed that Pardo intended to light the accelerant himself, but that the fuel was ignited instead by a flame inside the house. The device exploded and the fire quickly got out of control. Heat from the blaze was so hot, it actually melted the synthetic Santa suit into Bruce's skin.
Pardo was severely injured during that explosion. He suffered third-degree burns on both arms. It also appears that the Santa Claus suit that he was wearing did melt onto his body.
Rather than making it to the border, Pardo got as far as his brother's home, some 25 miles south of Covina, where he shot himself in the head. And at that point, the police were already on the lookout for their suspect. One of the partygoers who managed to get out unscathed phoned cops and told them exactly who was to blame.
Yes, he's got the shooting.
What do you think his name is, Bruce?
His name is Bruce Pardo.
Before he took his own life, Pardo discarded that charred Santa suit inside one of those rental cars, which he had booby-trapped. Now, that exploded just 1 block away from his brother's home. Law enforcement discovered Pardo's body the next day. Katrina Yusuf-Polsky, that 8-year-old girl who managed to survive being shot in the face by a man she believed to be Santa, not only lived through the horrific ordeal, but went on to be a teenage advocate for gun control.
Being able to really fight for something that is truly, truly close to my heart is very different. I just knew I had to keep fighting, and I knew I would live my life to the fullest for each one of my family members and everybody affected by gun violence.
At the time of that interview, Katrina told ABC7 that despite the tragedy, her family continues to celebrate Christmas together every single year. For more true crime content like this, hit like and subscribe.